Hello again, my name is Doug Smith. This is the 21st of February 2014 edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our special guest today is Chief Tom Lee of the Portsmouth Police Department. Welcome, Chief Lee.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks for having me.
This is your second time back. I know you've only been in town for 6 months almost now. We got you the first time, I think, after about a month in the job. Just quickly, what do you think so far?
I think this is a great town. We have great people here. I'm very pleased with the way things are going, and we have a great police department. Well,
that's good to know, especially coming from you, and I think we appreciate that. I noticed you're sporting a new badge there on a shield on your uniform. Could you talk about that for a second? It's really very nice looking.
Yeah, actually, this was a brand new badge. We haven't changed the badge in Portsmouth in over 30 years, and we were out of the old badges, and we had a new officer, and the officers had asked if they could change the badge, and actually put a committee together and design this badge themselves. And then we worked out an agreement with the union, where the union paid for the new badges for the officers.
Wow, it's very colorful. So
it is. They did a great job with that.
I hope people get a chance to take a look at it and see what they think when they meet their people they know in the force. You know, one of the reasons that we got together today was to talk about your Citizens Police Academy, which I think is a great idea. And I just wonder, how is that going?
Oh, it's going great, Doug. We just selected our first class. It's going to be starting March 6th. We received over 20 applications and a lot more phone calls. A lot of people had a lot of interest in joining the program. And it'll be starting, as I said, Thursday, March 6th at 6 p.m. at police headquarters.
It'll be will all the sessions be there, or will you move it around to different places?
Well, all the sessions will start there, but okay. We're going to be out on the road. We're going to be out at the range. We're going to go to a few things. Okay, well, that brings me to the thing about, you mentioned it briefly the last time you were on about what it could be. What kind of subjects will you guys be covering? Well, we start with patrol, which is the basic, and we start with traffic patrol. Then we move into investigations. We're going to have a mock crime scene set up, and the detectives are going to run, and we're going to have people lifting fingerprints, searching for DNA, just like the detectives do at a real crime scene.
You know, if you need any bodies, I know a few guys out there in the control room that I could volunteer for you. So how many applications did you get about? And how many people in the class?
Over 20, but we can only hold about 8 people, because it's a very hands-on program.
Yeah.
It's not just sitting in the class. We start in the classroom, but we get you out moving around, so you got to keep the number fairly small.
Well, actually, it bodes well for future classes, because you're going to continue to do this, I hope.
It does, and based on just the amount of phone calls just that we're receiving, we're actually going to do, instead of doing it once a year, for this first year, we're going to do another session in the fall.
Okay, great.
So we don't have these folks waiting a whole another year. They're really excited to be in the program. We're going to start it in September, another session.
That's great. We can advertise that on here as well, so we'll try to keep the pressure on you.
Oh, definitely.
What are the outcomes you'd like to see out of this course?
Well, from our point of view, it's a better connection between the residents of Portsmouth and their police department. We think we can really strengthen that connection by having people come in, meet their officers. These are the officers who patrol every single day their town, and we think it's a great idea for them to get in, meet their officers, and see what they really do. Many people have an impression of police work from television.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
Yeah, within that 45 minutes of TV show, they solve every crime. That's not reality. So this is a good way for people to see this is what the police do, and people are impressed.
Yeah, I would think another benefit of that might be for your guys to hear what people are having.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, it's a kind of, you got these guys for 2 or 3 hours on an evening, and you can have some good conversations about what people are thinking about.
Yeah, and part of it too is we're going to have what people would like to see in the future. So at the end of the session, we want to go and say what worked, what didn't work, so we can make this a developing program. So we're always changing it.
That's great. Like I say, anything we can do to help here, we'll certainly do it. One of the things that struck me as we talked about this a few minutes ago is the idea of getting a little younger kids involved, maybe in the high school level. I just wonder if there's any thought given to perhaps developing something for high school age kids, or that age anyway.
Well, that's a great suggestion, and I'm going to follow up on that, Doug. I think that we can go into high school and maybe we can do a lot with that age group. But one of the things that we do, and I don't know if people realize it because we just started it up again in town, is the Police Explorers program. Now, we started that up in September. We have about 5 youth, and that's kids ages 12 to 20. And they come to the station. It's 2 nights a month, 2 Thursdays a month. and they meet with Lieutenant Steve Hotzel, who runs the program, and he runs a great program for these kids, and they really enjoy it. But we probably could have twice as many kids in the program. So I'd like to, one of the things on this show is to get the word out on that program also.
Okay, so it's the Explorers program.
Police
Did somebody call up the police
Yes,
department
call
and
up the
ask about
police
it?
station, 683-0300, and ask for Lieutenant Steve Hotzel. Steve runs the program, and he's looking for some more youth to be involved in it.
Yeah. You know, and in the same way, I would think that, again, I think it'd be useful to get the kids' feedback to your police officers as well, to see what it looks like from their perspective, you know?
Yeah, no,
probably a little bit different from the adults.
I imagine so, Doug.
We've had a couple of storms here recently. It seems like we got our share of snow already, and we're ready for the spring. How has the police department fared during these sort of mini blizzards we've had?
I'll tell you, the toughest one we had was that last one. Was it this week? We had, I think it was, we had more than a dozen accidents in an hour.
Yeah, it just dumped on us.
It just dumped, and it was very quick moving, and just people had trouble driving in it. I think it was short term, but it was harsher conditions than expected.
Yeah, well, you're used to this coming from Boston, but down here, I think it was so cold that the snow that would normally just sort of stay soft froze underneath.
It's like cement.
Tough problem.
Yeah, it's a tough problem. One of the things, we're lucky that the last two cruisers we've purchased are four-wheel drive vehicles. So we have put the chains on the cars.
Yeah.
Like the old days.
Wow, you're kidding.
Yeah, the old Crown Vics are awful in the snow.
Yeah.
So we have to put chains on them, and that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough, and it takes a lot of man-hours to put them on, take them off.
Take them off. It's a pain in the neck.
It's a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it really is. Now, those two, speaking of that, those two cruisers you acquired were the ones that made up for the ones that were in the accident,
Yes.
a year ago or something?
Yeah, in 2012, I think, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of been in the news is the problems at Anthony House, and I just wondered, I was very impressed with the fact that you jumped right into this thing, and I just wonder, how was that resolved, or is it resolved?
Well, hopefully it's in the process of being resolved. The Anthony House is moving forward on eviction. But it's a long process to get someone evicted. But when I found out about a level of concern from the residents and received their letter, I immediately set up a community meeting with the residents so I could hear firsthand from them. And we had probably 50 residents at that meeting. And they're very frustrated with what's been going on, and primarily one apartment, one occupant of one apartment has really changed the tenor of that building in a negative fashion. Late night partying, allegations of drug use going on there. So our detectives had put together a case, and we wound up arresting him on a warrant for running a disorderly house. And he's in municipal court on that case now, in district court, I mean.
Yeah, so one bad apple.
One bad apple, yes.
Yeah. Well, again, I think everybody in town appreciates the fact that you guys jumped right in on this thing and resolved it for the folks that are living in that place.
Well, and we're still following up on it, Doug. We're making a lot of extra patrols in the building and walking through the hallways, and we've been up there a couple more times just checking on that apartment, let them know it's not a one-time thing. We're going to stay on it. Well,
that's great. Another question that I'm kind of curious about, and I guess they're going to be discussing this a little bit at the next couple of council meetings, are the new road scheme, the going from 4 lanes to 3 with a center turning lane.
Yes.
And it's been on Bristol Ferry Road for a while. It's been on the northern part, at least, of East Main Road.
Yes.
How has that been going from your perspective?
From our perspective, it's been going very well. We've seen a decrease in accidents. We're actually running our accident statistics in case we're asked for Monday night's meeting to make sure we have statistics to show. We believe it's a great safety tool, and it hasn't resulted in traffic backup. And I think that's people's main concern, is it's going to back traffic up. And we haven't seen that, and we have seen a reduction in accidents. And the section that they're looking at on Bristol Ferry Road, there's no shoulder there. You have 4 lanes. It's tough for people to get out, even out of their driveway. We've had 2 fatal accidents there in the last year.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good suggestion, and I support it.
There are no sidewalks either. I
live
down by the bridge. And
well, I'm also living in the area now down there, and I drive that road every day. And you're coming back there at night, you can't see people walking.
No, people walking in the road.
And with the snow, they're 3 feet over further out in the road now.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know those things are having the effect that they are meant to have. I think one valid concern is probably the backup. We get a backup even now, going, for people coming up Bristol Ferry Road and then going onto the bridge.
Going on the bridge, yeah.
At rush hour periods, after work. And it'll be interesting to see how that works out of that thing. But
yeah, well, I would hope they'd keep the right turn lane onto Boyd's Lane off of Bristol Ferry. I would help that. Hopefully, the configuration will maintain that lane, so at least you can pull people out and have them take
the ones that are going straight are going right.
Yes, you can go straight down or take the right. So we hope that would be our suggestion from the police department.
Yeah. Now, are you asked at all by
Yes,
RIDOT?
RIDOT has met with us, and they met with the prior chief in the past. They do meet with the police regularly, once a year on traffic suggestions, traffic safety meetings. So I have met with them, and we have talked about it.
Okay, so they do have local input. I guess that was the one thing that.
Well, yeah, I think it was more notice, local notice. But they do some outreach, certainly on the public safety side.
Yeah, last week we had Tina Dolan of the Aquidneck Island Planning Commission, and she was talking about the bikeway project. And if there's one thing that makes me cringe, is the idea of somebody trying to ride a bike on that Bristol Ferry Road from the bridge up to Turnpike Avenue, because there's no shoulder, there's nothing, and people are whizzing by at 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, and people do still ride bikes out there.
Yeah. Well, I think with the new 3-lane scheme, there might be more room.
You could probably put one in. Yeah, you'd have some room on the side. But even for our offices, there's a safety concern when we do traffic enforcement.
Absolutely.
On Bristol Ferry Road.
I know. The poor guy that stands in the middle there, I can't believe he's...
Yeah, and we pull people in. I've seen the officers pull people in people's driveways.
Yeah.
Because you're not trying not to back traffic
That's
up,
right.
but also you have to get out of your vehicle and go up and engage with the person.
It's tough. It really
is tough up there.
You know, the other thing that you guys have been doing is you've been using social media. I friended you on Facebook. I don't know if you guys also use Twitter or any of the other social media, but how have you found that, and what kind of response have you gotten?
Oh, we've got a great response. More people have now visited our Facebook page. And called us and thanked us or liked us on Facebook. So we've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We are looking at Twitter and possibly doing something on Twitter also. Yeah. We figured we'd get the Facebook page up and running, and we think it's been going well.
You know, if you get some kind of a expert to come down and talk about Twitter, I wonder if you could invite me, because I can't quite figure out how to use that thing.
Well, Chuck, I haven't either, so I have to admit, they're showing me how to use Facebook now.
Okay, so
I don't even have a Facebook.
Well, we all know what we need is a smart 13-year-old. You know?
Yeah, well, I have a young detective who's actually, he runs our Facebook page, Mike Morse, and I'll have him come down and
well, maybe I can sit down and talk with him. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities here. The new town website seems to have a lot more bells and whistles, certainly, and good possibilities as it gets filled out. There are things like blogs. I don't know if you're interested in anything like that, but I know in the emergency management agency side, John King uses our blog on our emergency management page quite successfully to get the word out. So there's a lot of this stuff, and I think it might be useful to you guys, and I'm delighted that you're getting really good responses.
Well, we are, Doug, and that's something else we'll look into, is the blog. And I think the town's done a great job, the town administrator, on getting that new web page up. I think it's great. It's a great improvement over the old one.
Absolutely. I think so, too. And I've been on it trying to search on things, and it flows very nicely. Another question that occurred to me, you know, the Medical Marijuana Center has been open now for a couple of months, and I just wonder if you've had any issues or problems police-wise concerned with that.
No, we really haven't had a lot of issues. I've been down and visited the center. I think that it's still a medical center, which is good. So we really haven't seen a lot of problems. I know in some other areas where they've changed the focus in other states and where it's become legalized, they're seeing issues with just walk-up sales, and they're having problems with those. Yeah. But we haven't had that in town.
I guess my concern would be drive-up deals, because if they drive away smoking this stuff, they're a danger to everybody out there. And that leads me to the other question, which is kind of interesting, is a field sobriety test of some sort that sniffs TCH or whatever the active ingredient there in marijuana is.
Yeah, well, there is a difference between doing a regular field sobriety for alcohol and the observations you make, and for someone who's suspected to be on drugs. We just sent one of our officers to be certified as a drug recognition expert, so he can conduct the other test, which is way more involved than a standard field sobriety test. They actually have to take your pulse. They do a lot of things different. I'm not an expert in it. I've just been briefed on it. But we hopefully will send that officer out again for another training, and he'll be able to instruct our officers in how to conduct these drug tests, drug recognition tests.
I think that's where public safety becomes involved, you know, in things like this. And
oh, absolutely. We're concerned also if people are using it and then going out and driving on our roads.
yeah. Now, getting back to the medical marijuana place, the Compassion Center, do you see any requirement for additional police assets because of that or anything? Or
we haven't locally, but I know out in Colorado that that's a concern, and the police are asking for additional coverage because of it.
Yeah, well, they just legalized it.
Where they just legalized it.
Okay, well, it's interesting, and it's a problem that's not going to go away, unfortunately.
No, and we'll again, there's a bill in the legislature currently to legalize it.
Yeah, I saw that in the paper. I wonder how far it's going to go. We'll see, I guess. A lot of this leads to technology, and I'm glad you're embracing the use of this technology. Just out of curiosity, though, and you know, I would probably be a great candidate for one of these citizen police courses because it's fascinating to me, and maybe I'll try to do it.
Oh, you should do it
in the fall or something. In the police car, you know, on TV, as you say, we see these guys with computers in their cars. Can they actually do searches of databases and stuff from our cars?
Yes, in Portsmouth you can.
So are they somehow hooked up wirelessly to?
They're wirelessly hooked up, yes, to a network. And we can do checks on persons to run their plates. We also have wireless ticketing. So it's all online now. So when you get a ticket, it's online on the computer and it prints it out.
Okay, just
so
like
we're pretty advanced.
Just like a store, like
a store. There's your receipt, and people don't want them, but
that's right. You got it anyway. You know, what about the idea of video cameras in police cars?
Well, actually, we are one of the few communities in the area that have them. We have a few of our cars have in-car video, and they're able to record when the blue lights are on. They're not recording at all time, but when we put our blue lights on, our emergency lights on during a stop, we do record.
Okay, so
we inform the person that we've stopped that you are being recorded.
Yeah, there was an article in the paper about the statewide policing standards or something, and how they're trying to get everybody on the same page. Are we participating in that, or will we at some point? Or
we are. I recently met with Christine Crocker, who runs the program for the state. We've named an accreditation manager, which is the first step. So we are part of the process now. We hope to, if everything goes well, about 18 months. It's a lengthy process to become accredited, statewide accredited. Yeah.
I would think that'd be useful to everybody to know that everybody's got the same kind of standards of operations.
It will, and it's definitely a way to professionalize policing and make sure that all departments are run following the same policies.
Yeah. How many people do we have on the force at present?
Right now we have 32.
Okay, is that full complement pretty much?
No, we're one short. 33 would be our full complement.
Okay, and you know, in many professions like teachers, for example, or nurses, they require like an annual certification or something or new training, et cetera. Is there anything like that in the PD?
There is annual in-service training. You have to have 40 hours of in-service training, and you have to qualify with your firearms training twice a year.
Okay.
You also have your emergency response training. So there is other training that we go through every single year.
Okay. Is there any kind of PT requirement?
Not
I know that's probably a dicey question.
That's a little bit of a dicey question, Doug. Once you get on the police department, there is no longer a physical requirement.
Okay.
But the officers in Portsmouth could definitely pass the test.
Well, the reason I asked that, I was in the Navy for 30 years, and for 30 years, even as an officer, as a senior officer, as a matter of fact, we had PT every year, and we had to pass the PT test. So I can understand why people would kind of resist that, though. If the older you get, the harder it is. Our own police in Portsmouth, I know you had a couple of fairly new guys. We met them during the 375th last year. Nice kids, very nice kids. I just wondered kind of what the average, you know, you need longevity. You need to know the town. You got to be here for a while, know where all the nooks and crannies are, good places, bad places. Is there any kind of sense of how long people are staying in our police department? Are they usually pretty long term?
That's a good question, Doug. Statewide, we're seeing a lot of movement among police agencies. We have one police academy for the state, and we have statewide certification, so you can go from any community.
Right.
And what's happening is officers, especially young officers, are going from one agency that might have, say, a better pension or higher benefits and leaving and going to that agency. But we pay a lot on the town for the training and putting that person through, and then another agency could take advantage of it by taking one of our offices. So it is a concern. But we haven't really seen that in Portsmouth. Most of our offices stay for the full 20 years.
Yeah. Well, it's good because you need that experience. I think you need to know,
yes.
where the roads
absolutely. It takes you, like you mentioned, it takes you several years to learn the town sufficiently. We're comfortable with you.
Yeah. Another sort of vaguely related question. There's so many things I could sit here and ask you about because I'm ignorant about this stuff. The 911 system, as I understand it, if I picked up the phone and dialed 911, it goes to Providence.
Yes.
So how does that system
Well, it goes to North
us?
Situate now, the 911 Emergency Center, the new one where the State Police Academy is.
Okay.
So all the 911 calls go directly there, and then they put them right out to the police station. But it's a fairly seamless process.
Fairly quick,
yes,
I think, too.
fairly quick.
Yeah.
And I think it's worked well statewide, the new E911 system.
Okay. So that's kind of a something that the state has gotten together on and said we're going to do it this way.
Yes. And again, people still can call the police department. 911's for emergencies. For an emergency, you call 911. For non-emergencies, or more than half our calls actually come directly into the police station. 683-0300, and everybody in town knows the police number. Yeah. So people actually dial us more than dial 911, which is different than some departments get almost the majority of their calls straight through 911. We receive a lot directly to the police station.
Well, I guess that's a good thing, really, because you're taking the load off the 911 system. But
we're taking the load off the yes, and some things are resolved right over the phone. The officer speaks to them on the phone, and they're concerned, but they may not even need the police to come out. So it works out well. Or we tell them, you know what, we're tied up right now. Can we make an appointment? We'll be out later on this afternoon. Yeah. And people like that response. Now,
when they call, when people call 0300 on the...
Yep.
Who do they talk to? Is there a dispatcher? Is it a trainee? Is it someone who's specifically for that job, or are they also general officers?
They're speaking to a general officer. All of our officers are trained in how to do dispatch. And any officer in the Portsmouth PD can run the dispatch system. So you're speaking to an officer.
Okay, so you get a guy with some experience then in terms of
and someone who knows the town.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Well, that's what you want to have when you call.
Right, and people sometimes will make the mistake when they're calling 911 and start telling where they are, but not telling them they're in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
But they do have, global location services at the E911 system. So it'll give you a location of where your cell phone's calling from, a general location.
Okay, that's if you call 911.
If you call 911, yes.
Okay, but when you call 0300, you should tell them where you are.
You should tell you, yes.
Yeah. Okay, good information, I think. It's an important system, and we need to know the workarounds, I think, too. Some people are concerned that it goes up to Providence because we think things get lost in Providence. Yep. But I'm glad it works, and it's kind of pretty much automated, as you say.
No, I went out and did a tour of their facility, and I think they've done a great job with it, with their new facility.
You know, speaking of state police facilities, we on the island here, we have in Portsmouth, I think it's in Portsmouth, that state police building.
We do have a state police barracks. Unfortunately, the barracks has been closed because of a personnel shortage. The state police are short troopers, and they had to close our facility. So we've actually been covering 24 while it's been closed.
Okay. Is there any benefit to Portsmouth of having that facility as a state police barracks?
Oh, sure.
Eventually, perhaps, if they have enough.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it. It would help us out if they were able to open it up. I've spoken to the colonel about it, and again, it's they were under some personnel shortages, and they don't have the people to put there. Yeah. Basically.
I just wonder if you all could use it for something to store stuff or whatever. I don't know.
Well, that'd have to be something worked out in the future. But when I spoke to the colonel, his goal was to open it back up again.
Okay. That'd be great, because it's a nice-looking building, and just seems like it's a waste.
Oh, yeah, and again, they covered the island from there. So 3 towns that don't have state police coverage, well, they do, but it's not right here in town anymore.
One of the things we're working on here, as you know, is a municipal court, and I'm not sure it's stood up or not yet. We had the judge in several weeks ago talking about how it was going to operate. Has it stood up? Are you guys a part of that yet? And are you?
We haven't. We're not a part of it yet. We're not a part of it yet. Our traffic citations are not going there yet. I think that's something we're considering for the future.
Yeah, the judge said that the traffic stuff would probably come a little bit later.
Yeah.
But do you know, has it actually stood up for other things
I'm
yet?
not sure yet, no.
Yeah, I'm just curious because...
I've met the new judge, but I don't know if they've stood up yet.
Yeah. It just struck me that it would save you guys a lot of time testifying and things from having to drive to Providence or to Newport.
Yeah.
You know, so...
yeah, I think it would be a benefit if we don't have to send, and also for the public to not have to travel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm thinking just expenses of your guys too.
Yeah.
You're taking them out of the field. On average, you got 32 people in the PD. How many people are like on watch at any given time? Just out of curiosity.
Well, we try to have 3 units in the field at all time. We don't have a strict minimum, so our minimum would be 1 officer inside and 3 out in the field.
Okay, so 3 cars.
3 cars.
Out.
But we might run more than that. Certainly during the recent storms with the accidents, we've had a higher overtime to put extra officers out. Yeah. During busy periods, we may put an extra officer out.
Yeah, I was wondering too, and this goes back to that thing about the video cameras in the cars. Do we have any static video feeds anywhere in town that you guys can kind of like monitor high accident places or anything like that?
We don't have any type of static cameras like that.
Yeah.
And we don't have access to like the bridge cameras.
Yeah. I would think something like that might be useful, particularly, I live down there by the Mount Hope Bridge.
Yep.
And it's a 5-way intersection, and every once in a while the bridge is jammed up and all kind of stuff goes on, and it would be useful, I think, for you guys to be able to monitor that. Of course, you probably already know about it if it's jammed up, but you could monitor the video feed from something like that.
It would be useful. We had inquired from the state before about obtaining the video, but I think they have some concerns about maybe privacy concerns. If the police are monitoring the traffic. I'm not sure what the concern was.
Well, like I said, it's something that might be worth looking at down the road, particularly if they already have cameers up.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a benefit for us if we could have tie into this system, certainly for an emergency.
Absolutely. The other issue that is constantly, in fact, our budget discussions are going on now with the school department and the town council. One of the things that John Klimm raised in at least according to the newspaper article the other day was the issue of trying to get out there and get more grants to help support some of our operations here. I know you guys have been in the past pretty successful in doing that. Do you have anything like that recently that you could mention?
We do. We apply for a lot of grants. We just got a prevent people from texting grant. We just got notified yesterday. We received grants from RIDOT. We receive grants from burn funding for computers and things like that. So we do apply and receive grants. Unfortunately, we had put in for a school resource officer grant the town put in for, but we didn't get it, and that's the second time we were unsuccessful in obtaining that grant.
Yeah, I think the key is to keep pressing on and learning how to write these things.
We'll keep trying. We don't have a professional grant writer. We actually write them ourselves. And one of our lieutenants, Billy Burns, just put a grant in and it was accepted by the trust.
Great. I know Bill. He's a good guy.
Well, he's a good guy for putting plastic in our cell block. Well, we just have, like the old days, the bars there.
Yeah.
But we're going to put Lexan plastic sheets over for safety reasons, so no one could, hang themselves off our bars.
Chief, we're out of time already, as I knew that would happen, but I'd just like to thank you for coming on today, and welcome back anytime you'd like to come back and talk about things.
Oh, thanks, Doug.
Doug Smith signing off. We'll see you the next time.